Imagine this, a woman whose body was shattered, but whose spirit never broke. She spent most of her life in bed, yet created paintings that moved the world. Her brush bled, and her colors screamed in silence. Her name, Frida Kahlo. She is one of the rare artists who challenged the world with her broken body, expressing her inner pain through colors. Every brushstroke reflects the painful moments of her life and the spirit filled with love and hope. Her art, a language of pain, femininity, and freedom. Let's uncover 10 powerful truths born from her broken heart. Fact 1. Where did Frida Kahlo begin? The year was 1907 in the Coyoacan district of Mexico. It wasn't just a tropical town. It was a land that gave birth to both beauty and pain. On July 6th of that year, Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo y Calderon was born. A girl who would one day become one of the most powerful and striking female figures in art history. Her father was a German photographer, and her mother had deep indigenous Mexican roots. This mixed identity would influence Frida's entire life in art. She was neither fully European nor entirely native. Frida was not someone who accepted borders. She broke them. From a young age, she was different, observant, introspective, and deeply sensitive. She began painting her inner world early on, but the storms that would shape her destiny were still ahead. Fact 2. A life changed by tragedy. At the age of 18, while returning home from school, Frida Kahlo was involved in a horrific bus accident. A metal rod pierced through her body, and dozens of bones were broken. The crash took away her physical strength, but awakened the artist within. Frida was confined to bed for months, and it was there, in her pain and silence, that she first picked up a paintbrush. Art became both her mirror and her medicine. Fact 3. The pain hidden behind the brush. For Frida Kahlo, painting wasn't about creating beauty. It was her only way to show the world what she had lived through. She poured the fractures of her body, the cracks in her heart, and the weight of her pain into every stroke of the brush. While most artists painted the world around them, Frida painted the storm inside her. She often portrayed herself with torn bodies, bleeding wounds, and metal braces, brutally honest depictions of her suffering. One of her most famous works, The Broken Column, is a haunting visual translation of her physical and emotional agony. Even when her paintings seemed joyful, there was always a hidden sorrow beneath. The truth is, Frida was one of the rare souls who could turn pain into color. Fact 4. I never painted dreams. Frida and surrealism. Frida Kahlo's art is often described as surrealist, full of dreamlike, symbolic, and fantastical elements. Renowned surrealist artists like Salvador Dalí and André Breton considered her a part of their movement, but Frida herself rejected this label. She once said, "I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality." The broken bodies, the bleeding wounds, the torn self-portraits, the emotional contradictions. They weren't born from imagination. They were reflections of her real pain, her lived experience, and the battles she fought within her body and soul. For Frida, painting was not fantasy. It was raw, unfiltered truth. Her art was a wide-open window into her traumas, her emotions, and her defiance. Every brushstroke, every shade, was a piece of her wounded yet wonder-filled reality. Fact 5. Frida and Diego. A life of love, art in ruin. Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera weren't just Mexico's most iconic art couple. They were one of the most intense, complex relationships in art history. He was a giant who painted epic stories on walls. She was a woman confined to her bed, shaking the world with her colors. Their love was neither a fairy tale nor a quiet romance. There was betrayal, there was pain, but just as much passion, respect, and inspiration. They were each other's lovers and each other's muses. Frida once wrote, "Loving Diego is a disaster, but it's the disaster that keeps me alive." Their relationship burned, but it also breathed life into their creativity. It gave strength to their art, depth to their emotions, and scars to their souls. Their story wasn't just told through paint and brushes. It was written through contradiction, chaos, and a love too big for words. Fact 6. Frida's signature. The unibrow, one of Frida Kahlo's most iconic and unmistakable features, was her bold, connected unibrow. She never tried to hide it. In fact, she highlighted it proudly in her self-portraits, turning it into a visual signature. At a time when feminine beauty standards demanded thin, separated brows, Frida stood her ground. For her, the unibrow was a symbol of authenticity, individuality, and strength. Through it, she challenged conventional beauty norms and encouraged women to love their bodies as they truly are. In many of her portraits, the unibrow is front and center, not just as a facial feature, but as a silent protest against perfectionism. Frida redefined beauty by embracing what others tried to hide, and in doing so, she carved a permanent place for herself in global art and culture. Fact 7. Creativity born from bed. Over 200 works. Frida Kahlo's life story was filled with pain, but her love for art and her unstoppable spirit never faded. After a devastating bus accident left her with lifelong injuries, Frida spent much of her remaining years confined to bed, battling chronic pain. But physical limitation didn't silence her creativity. In fact, those quiet, painful moments became the most profound and productive chapter of her artistic journey. Lying in bed, surrounded by mirrors and paint, she poured her pain, desires, and inner storms onto canvas, often through raw self-portraits and deeply symbolic works. During this time, Frida created over 200 paintings, each a reflection of her personal struggle and an echo of Mexico's vibrant culture. Her art became a mirror of emotion, a visual diary that touched hearts across generations. The very bed that confined her became a vessel for power. From the center of her suffering, Frida gave birth to a legacy, one painted not despite her pain, but through it. Fact 8. Frida Kahlo, a feminist icon and the voice of female power. Frida Kahlo was not only a remarkable artist, she is widely recognized as a pioneer of feminism. Through her raw, fearless paintings, she gave voice to the physical and emotional struggles women endure, while celebrating their strength, identity, and resilience. In Frida's art, femininity wasn't just softness or beauty, it was also resistance, survival, and freedom. She stood tall against both the pain of her body and the pressures of society, unapologetically expressing what it meant to be a woman in a world of limitations. Frida boldly painted the silent stories of women, from illness, infertility, and heartbreak to sexuality, identity, and self-liberation. She didn't hide the harsh truths, she turned them into art. In doing so, Frida became more than an artist. She became a symbol of empowerment, inspiring generations of women to embrace their voice, their bodies, and their truth. Fact 9. Frida Kahlo's art, a jewel of the global art market. Frida Kahlo's paintings have not only captured the hearts of art lovers, they've become some of the most valuable works on the international art market. Her unique style, rich symbolism, and deep emotional storytelling make her pieces prized treasures for collectors and museums alike. Several of her artworks have been sold for millions of dollars, solidifying her status as one of Mexico's most celebrated and influential artists. But her impact goes beyond price tags. Frida's legacy represents a major step toward the recognition and celebration of female artists in a male-dominated art world. She proved that personal pain could become universal power, and her name is now etched permanently into the history of art. Fact 10. A broken body, an eternal spirit. Frida Kahlo's life and death. Frida Kahlo's life was filled with both physical and emotional pain, yet her spirit never dimmed. Years of health struggles confined her, but she remained fiercely loyal to her art and her voice. In 1954, at the age of just 47, Frida passed away in Mexico. With her death, the world lost not only a revolutionary artist, but a feminist icon whose work still inspires millions. Frida's life was an epic story of freedom, pain, and love. Her soul and art continue to live on, whispering truths and defying silence. She turned agony into artistry, shattered stereotypes, and gave women everywhere the courage to be seen and heard. Frida Kahlo, the woman with a broken body and an unbreakable soul, shared her truth with the world. Her colors, her footprints, her legacy will never fade. Now it's your turn. Be inspired by Frida's story and paint the colors of your own life. Let us know in the comments. What's your favorite Frida fact? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories.